The 100% cloud-based SkyTouch hotel operations platform is designed to enhance guest experience, advance performance, and achieve growth. The sky's the limit with the SkyTouch PMS, advanced rate and group management tools, advanced business intelligence tools, /Connect API, and SkyTouch University and customer community. Visit skytouchtechnology.com to learn more.
Welcome to the Hotel Tech Podcast. This is the show where we tackle your most pressing issues to bring your business more wins. Keeping up with technology is challenging. Our experts are here to help you figure it all out. Here's your hosts, Glenn Hausman and Estella Hale.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hotel Tech Podcast. I, of course, am Glenn Hausman here, and I'm super excited to have you here today. I think today's conversation is going to be a really deep dive, really interesting one, but I'm not going to share what it's all about yet, because first of all, I need to bring in my most amazing, incredible co-host. That's Estella Hale, who's also the Chief Product Evangelist with SHR. Of course, that's Scepter Hospitality Resources, and I love working with her because she is so freaking brilliant when it comes to technology. Estella, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Glenn. It is great to be back, great to be recording. There's so much happening in the industry, and we have such amazing information to share today with our wonderful guests. So let's get started.
I think we should just get right into it. And of course, we are talking about Mr. Robert Cole of RockCheetah, a hotel marketing strategy and travel technology consulting firm. So, Robert, I want to get started with the most important question to begin with. Where do you get the name RockCheetah from?
Yes. I occasionally get that question. Well, first, thanks, Glenn and Estella, for having me on the show. Big fans of both of you guys. So,
thanks. And we're big fans of cheetahs and how to rock it out. So we're very excited to have you here too.
Exactly. That's no, actually, RockCheetah is a very old name, many years ago, and we are dating back to the early 1970s. I was an alpine ski racer, and I was pretty good. Yeah, oh yeah. I used to race against people may remember the Mayer brothers,
right,
who won Olympic medals. Now, they used to kill me, but I could beat their little brother.
And you were in their company.
Yes, exactly.
Sadly, their little brother was 3 years old, but that's
no. He was my age, and they were 2 years older. I have rationalized all of this in my mind for decades.
That's what I like about history. You could really reshape it to whatever you want to do.
Of course, yeah. The narrative, the desired narrative.
I was not having that kind of an experience in the early 70s. I was too busy teething in order to.
That's right, exactly. Well, I had skis. I had skis on my feet a lot.
That's cool.
So anyway, I was in a slalom race, and actually it was against this guy Paul.
Right.
And at the end of the first run, I was in third place. At the end of the second run, end of the race, I was in first place. And my best friend came up to me. It was probably one of the best runs of my life. He goes, "Wow, you ran that like a RockCheetah." I was like, "What?" It's like, "Oh, what does that mean?" He goes, "That was solid. That was fast." And it was like, "Oh, I like that." Right. Those are two good words. And so now that gentleman is actually Yale undergrad, Harvard law graduate, corporate lawyer. Right. So
right.
I've got this hardcore lawyer. We have prior rights usage. I was in a garage band, and I grew up in Seattle. I was in a garage band around that time as well. Actually, he was too. So we actually use that as our publishing company. So we have prior usage. I got this, badass lawyer who was there. If anybody wanted that name, which is a big stretch, nobody is getting that. That is locked down. So, anyway, that's the story of RockCheetah.
That's cool. I was going to start a company called Country Panther, but I like RockCheetah a little bit more.
Yeah.
All right, so we're not here to talk about names of companies. We are here to give you, the listeners, some great insight on what is happening in the hospitality industry in regards to this incredible world of technology. And I think we're going to have a conversation that kind of goes a little here, kind of goes a little there and stuff like that. But I thought, Robert, the best place for us to begin is maybe what is going on right now when it comes to the brands trying to get people to book direct and what's happening in regards to people really gravitating more and more, it seems, to those online travel agencies.
Oh, yes, a hot topic. And yeah, in my work, one of the jobs I do, I mean, RockCheetah is my main business, my consulting business, but I'm also Phocuswright senior research analyst for lodging and leisure travel, and also I'm also senior consultant for JD Power. So I get access to lots of very, very interesting.
You got a cool gig, man. I love it.
Yeah. So I'm kind of a data sponge, but yeah, and I like to be a little bit controversial, but based on facts and data. So I like to kind of call things as they are. There is a battle, certainly, between the brands and the OTAs. I mean, certainly a lot of people are saying, oh, no, it's not, and it's friendly. I look at this as an existential battle for these groups, because if you really look at a hotel owner, and it's really a battle of business models. Mm-hmm. Because when you look at an owner, certainly they're carrying all the freight in terms of all the costs. They've got the note for the hotel. They've got all the payroll, all of that. But now all of a sudden you have all these fee layers coming in. So if you look at most owners are alert enough, or the good owners alert enough to bring in maybe a third-party management company or someone who really knows how to professionally run the hotel. So that's good. And again, these are large round numbers. There's certainly wide varieties of deals and models, but let's just say they're taking 3% of gross revenue for their management fees. And that's fine. But then you bring in a brand. The average, and according to HVS, the average brand took, I believe, about 11% of fees.
Yes.
And again, this is across everything that's booked, right? It doesn't matter if it goes to the brand website, regardless of the channel, that's 11%. Well, now you're up to about, between those two, 14% for fees. And the brands hate when I say this, but this is, if you take it purely empirically from an owner's perspective, these are kind of intermediary fees. You can call them partners, or you can call them whatever you want, but those are fees being assessed by a third party. So you're up to 14%. If they're using a credit card, well, certainly a variety of merchant fees, but let's just add a couple points for that. So we're now up to 16% of the revenue that's being driven. Let's just say an incremental reservation. Now, if that gets channeled through an online travel agency, all of a sudden, then you have your rut-row situation, which is, oh dear, if they're charging anywhere, if you're a major group, down getting close to kind of the 10% range, to if you're truly independent hotel, maybe you're up into the 20s somewhere. Mm-hmm. Let's just say 15%. We're at 31% of the gross revenue of that booking going out to other parties. And I would argue that is before you've done any marketing on your own. Mm-hmm. In terms of, aside from just having a brand and that sort of thing, and what the OTAs are doing, I don't believe that's a sustainable level of intermediary fees. So to have those go down is not a good proposition for publicly held companies like a major hotel brand or an online travel agency. They want to keep their margins nice and strong. That's what Wall Street likes. So you've got some conflict there. So one of the interesting things is, if you look at Phocuswright's study, is really looking at what's going on in the market share between, and they break it out a little bit differently. They just don't do direct and OTA, but for their online travel overview, they'll look at what's going to supplier branded websites, what's going to OTAs, what's going through travel agents and travel management companies, which is also, certainly an intermediary channel, and what's going through central reservations, walk-ins, things like that. So right now, the way those broke out, and please get out some pencil and paper and keep score at home. I'll lay some stats out here. Right now, about in 2018, 31% of share, and this is just the U.S. market. Sorry, international folks. There's some other reports, but we'll just focus on the U.S. here. 31% went through supplier branded websites. 19% went through online travel agents. 27% went through traditional travel agents or travel management companies, and about 23% were central reservations or walk-ins. So when you kind of look at the direct versus the intermediary breakdown, you look at the supplier branded websites, 31%, and the central res and walk-in or kind of the direct channel offline, right, to the hotel. So you kind of have the direct online. And those two put together, if my math is good, let's say 31% plus 23% is about 54%. So that's fine. It's more than half. And you can say, okay, well, that's pretty good. That's solid. But then when you look forward to 2022, the projection is to shift a little. So supplier branded websites, and this is good news for the brands, they are increasing some share on the online travel agencies, and their share is growing more rapidly than the online travel agencies. So that's good for the battle between the brands and the OTAs if you're a brand. So Phocuswright's projecting it'll go to 33% instead of 31%. So that's a net increase of 2 points there, which is great. But the online travel agencies are also going up a point, right? So they're going from 19 to 20%. And the travel agents and travel management companies, they're staying the same at their 27%. The difference is that central reservations and walk-ins, the offline direct channels, are going from 23% to 20%. Okay, so that's a net loss of 3 points. So when you look at these, what happens is between 2018 and 2022, the direct channel is growing 2 points, but 3 points is coming out of the offline direct channel, right? So the online direct channel is going up 3, offline is going up 2, offline is -3. So that's a net -1 for direct channels for hotels, which isn't great. And guess what's picking up that 1%? Online travel agencies, right? So there's been a lot of discussion on this going, oh, this is great. Look at the brands are doing terrific. They're growing share. They're growing faster than the online travel agencies. Well, yes, that's true if you're only looking at that little slice of online direct. And online direct is good. It's a great channel. You can do lots of things with it. But I would argue a lot of that's coming from offline direct.
Right.
And so it nets out being a negative for the hotels, and that's not a good story. Right,
so
because there's a lot of money being spent trying to wrestle control away from the OTAs or the channel mix from the OTAs.
Right. So there's been a whole lot of business that the major brands are trying to get with their book direct campaigns, but in the end, it doesn't really seem to be helping out the average hotel operator. Is that what you're saying? Right, exactly. Well, and there are a couple of other things. If you look at the Calibri report, they have and certainly one of the tactics that's being employed is to provide member only rates to members of the reward programs. And I call them reward programs. I do not call them loyalty programs. We can talk about loyalty. Yeah, we'll see if we have time to get into that. I'm having a feeling this part is going to be super meaty.
Rewards are different than loyalty, sort of thing. Yeah. So that's the difference between how you interact with your cat versus your dog. Okay, we'll get into that later. Right. But if you look at Calibri's latest report, and I don't know. I may be the only one who reads all of the Calibri stuff cover to cover, but there's some interesting stats in there. And so one of them was across all chain scales, the contribution of what they call loyalty room nights as a percentage of total room nights. And so it's over a 12-month period. And what they were comparing was, let's see, 2015 to 2018. And so they have a nice little number over that says up 12.8%. You go, wow, that's fantastic. Loyalty room nights have gone from 43.6% to 49.2%. So it's not 12 points of increase. This is just a relative 12, almost 13% change. However, if you take that and if you look at, more of a cager type thing for compound annual growth rate, right? What is that on an annualized basis? It's only about 3 or 4%, right? So it's not a huge huge swing. I mean, it's going the right direction. But again, when you're looking from an owner's perspective, at what cost?
Right.
Because if the owners are the ones who are winding up having to foot the bill for a discount on their rate, which of course drops directly to the bottom line. Any reductions in ADR, goes straight off of the bottom line. So they're taking a haircut on their margins for those reward programs. The brands are receiving the benefit for this largely, and this is why I said it would be controversial. The brands don't like to hear that story,
totally.
But this is just numbers and and kind of arithmetic, and it's how the numbers work out. And so this is a challenge. So a lot of money and effort has been spent trying to get these get these travelers to go through a direct online channel, specifically the brand website, to get a benefit. And is it working? Yes. Is it profitable for the hotel owners? I'm not sure.
Right.
And is it really, taking the wind out of the OTA sales? Maybe somewhat, but not really.
Okay. Now, Robert, I got a ton of questions, but Estella, I'm sure you've got plenty to ask too. So why don't you go first?
Well, in building into what you were saying, Robert, I think it is a struggle. On the one side, the hotels are trying to shift the share from their competitors, and in that case, OTA is a good channel for that. Then they're trying to shift share from the OTAs, and then in that case, things like membership programs that include the price discount and the value add, all of these are elements in which, again, the hotel is trying to shift share from one place to the other. But at the end, I think they're doing this behavioral training for the guest to just find deeper and deeper discounts. Right. And I think that coming back to the why of all of this, coming back to even that shifting of share, is that the hotel are trying to connect to their guests. They're not trying to connect to channels. They're trying to connect to their guests.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And when they look at that technology and the loyalty program and the discounts and the value adds that even OTAs offer today, I think knowing the guests that they're trying to reach and how they're trying to reach them can help make the decisions of what technology or programs to belong to, because at the end, that is the end, and the channels and these different programs are just the means to the end, and just participating on them is, they have to take a look at those results, at that bottom line, like you mentioned.
Right, exactly. And I think the focus has to be the guest. I mean, it is the hospitality industry, and that should be. Hospitality isn't a lot of fun without guests. That is the purpose of the entire industry. So when you really kind of dig through it, what can you do to make the experience for the guest the absolute best? And that means in the virtual world, when they're shopping online, what can you do to really give them a fantastically great experience, to move them and convert them through the funnel? And then when they arrive, how do you give them a fantastic experience at the hotel? And then after they've stayed, how can they, or during their stay, can they share that information with others and tell others and become an advocate for you? Those are absolutely, I would say now, table stakes for the hoteliers. The interesting thing is, and again, the challenge, the online travel agencies are very, very data driven organizations, and the hoteliers are trying harder. Which is, right. I mean, there's certainly a lot of technical silos and things like that, which make collecting data consistently very, very difficult for the hoteliers. But for really having a great experience online, what's one thing that happens on an online travel agency is, boy, you can go and search and say, hey, why don't you sort this into review order? Well, most of the major hotel brands don't provide that option. And in some cases, and I like to call out groups, and Marriott's a great client, that sort of thing. But Now, if you're in New York, if you do a search of New York, there are 100 Marriott hotels that come back for Manhattan. That's a lot because of the Starwood integration. So yes, the competition isn't just through competitor. It may be through sister brands and things like that, or other properties. I mean, there is a lot of clutter in that. So that becomes a very, very challenging situation. And for the poor consumer who looks at it and goes, well, gee, I don't know what's the best, property to pick out of this list of 100, and reviews is not factored into it. Any sort of other guest ratings, which is now kind of, again, for people who've been trained, you mentioned training on Amazon, right? All these sorts of things, that's what people look at. I'm not sure between these two products, which review should I pick? Oh, that looks like a better value for me, which doesn't necessarily mean cheaper. It may be value as I may be willing to spend $100 a night more because, wow, look at that that price in a 5-star hotel.
And I think that precisely is a first step, if you will, in this battle against fighting the training, the guest behavior, and to find cheaper, more discount. Did I get a great deal? This is something that we see from messaging to how the technology has been applied. Number one, we put all the burden on the guest. We say, okay, we have always worked on availability response. So here's a bunch of rates. You figure it out. First, we put the burden. Then we say, okay, we're going to ease this burden with marketing messages that create urgency. They're still not showing value. They're just creating urgency. Right. So, and I think here, maybe the independent hotels that get to make those decisions can get a little bit of an edge because they get to tailor what they put in that booking experience. And just to remember to not simply use that availability response that is a rate number. Right. That is what everyone else uses. To look at what is it that the value that you provide from destination to amenity to knowing that an upgrade is definitely worthwhile in projecting that in the experience that you give to the guest. In that regard, you're taking the first step in going beyond what we know as an availability response, but it doesn't mean anything to the guest.
Oh, and it's guest relevance, which means everything, right? To have something. Great example is I'm doing a paper on personalization for Phocuswright right now. And actually, I've come to break it. I used to break personalization into 2 factors. I now break it into 3. One is customization. And customization. And actually, I did a report on big data for Phocuswright. This is now actually several years, probably about 5 years ago, looking at big data. And we talked to the OTAs and their CIOs and CTOs, really what they were doing with it. And it was interesting even back then, what they looked at was customization were explicit signals provided by the guest. So in a hotel booking scenario, gee, you're asking how many adults, how many children, and the ages of the children. This is really high quality information. Yes. How many hotels take that and go, oh, 2 small young children. Maybe we can have pictures of families instead of the porte cochere. Yeah, please stop showing the damn pictures of the porte cochere.
That's a great idea. I really like that.
Nobody cares. It's not really that relevant, unless maybe you're an Uber driver. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe.
That's a good point. All right. So I want to hear more about where you're going with this. And I've got a couple of observations that I want to make with this whole idea of rewards versus loyalty. But we got to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this message. Hey, Glenn here. Are you overwhelmed by the digital marketing landscape, or maybe you're underwhelmed by your current digital marketing agency? Well, G-Commerce's well-thought-out marketing campaigns draw their strength from the synergy of multiple disciplines working in concert and guided by an overlying strategy to drive new customer acquisition at the absolute lowest cost. They pride themselves on seamless customer service that makes you feel like you're part of the team, facing challenges and celebrating successes together. Your business is unique, and your marketing should be too. Contact them today for a free assessment of your digital marketing health and how they can help you improve. Visit gcommercesolutions.com to claim your assessment. But more importantly, guys, listen, this is Glenn speaking to you right from the heart. These guys helped create my NoVacancyNews.com website. It is amazing, it is awesome, and it helped transform my life. They helped kickstart my business, and they can help you too. So visit gcommercesolutions.com and claim that assessment. Hey, and tell them Glenn sent you. You know, Robert, you're making some really great points about personalization and customization and stuff, but I want to go a little bit back to the foundation of this conversation, the whole idea of loyalty versus just rewarding people, et cetera, et cetera. I think that the major brands, I go to all these major conferences that the brands hold, and they keep telling me about how many people they have in their loyalty program. But all of those people in their loyalty program are in 50 other loyalty programs, yes, which renders them not loyal to anybody because they have a card with absolutely everybody. So when I sign on to rent a room for a particular night and they're giving me a loyalty discount, it seems like they're just giving away money because I'm not going to say, I'm not going to stay at this particular brand that I'm already looking at for this $3 discount, this $5 discount, that I wasn't in the mood to necessarily be receptive to anyway. So it seems like they're just giving away money to people that may not actually be truly loyal, that are looking just to get some sort of reward or just kind of stay in one place for one night without any sense of staying with that brand family anytime in the distance.
Well, yeah, exactly. And a lot of it comes down to the overall pricing, pricing strategy. And way back, I spent 8 years with Four Seasons Hotels and was their corporate director of marketing planning. And one of the key strategies, which I believe they still employ today, was their discounting practices, which at that time were a little bit chaotic. And we got them aggressively got them under control, because we basically looked at it and said, doing wild discounts in the luxury sector makes no sense. Right. And even it was a rack rate policy, because we had these just stratospheric fictional rack rates, which people never paid, made it look like the hotel was so incredibly unachievably expensive, even for a very high-end luxury guest.
Yeah, it's so funny. You look at like the back of you look at the back of a hotel room door and it says $900 a night rack rate. I'm like, I'm paying $87. What are they talking about over here?
Right, exactly. So we got that stuff under control. But when I really look at true loyalty, the measure that I normally look at, and I have two daughters, one who's 21 and one who's 28. They love Apple. Okay? They love it. They are willing to pay a price premium for Apple. When my younger daughter, because my older daughter had gone through, she got the junky Lenovo laptop to go through college. When she got her master's degree, she got the nice new MacBook Pro as a reward, right? That's a rewards program. My younger daughter was going to get the junky Lenovo, not the sexy. People are going to go, wow.
Yeah.
What?
I got the sexy Lenovo Yoga, and it is a great computer.
Oh, come on.
And I don't want to turn this into a fight over here, but I like my Lenovo.
Okay.
I'm willing to pay less to have a Lenovo than you are for
Nobody puts a Lenovo sticker in their car.
Okay, good point.
That's right. My older daughter used the Apple sticker and put it over the Lenovo thing. That's the older daughter, right? Okay.
All right. So I think what I'm taking away from this is Lenovo is never going to sponsor our podcast. But sorry, go on.
Exactly. Sorry, and I'm using a Lenovo right now. I love it. It's fantastic. I actually am.
You are absolutely right about the whole notion of premium pricing. To bring it back to your point,
just quickly, what did my younger daughter do? Mm-hmm. She paid out of her own money, hard-earned babysitting, nannying money. She bought herself a MacBook Pro. She spent over probably incremental $1,000 because she loved that brand. So, what kind of price premium are you willing to pay for that brand? These member discounts are are completely contrary to that notion. So loyal customers are your best customers, and they love you so much they want to pay a premium. That's where you want to get. And so it's basically bad behavior being trained for a bunch of people, which is not good for the overall health of the industry.
So when you say pay a premium, I think what you really mean is they have a different sense of value and peg a higher dollar amount to what they think is value.
Right. And value is, and if you're really stripping it back, value associated with the brand, where you say, I don't know even what that hotel is, but I love it, right? Citizen M, it's great. Or Moxie, it doesn't matter. Whatever is cool or great or, whatever. I don't know for a lot of the other, kind of, more, traditional legacy brands, if people get super excited. Again, sorry, Sheraton, but I think, Marriott's admitted, they got to do some refreshing on the brand. People going, I will say at any Sheraton, I don't care. That's just where I'm staying. Now, some people have that with, with W's or, other brands and things like that. But again, it's, yes, what does that branding really represent to the guest is the most important thing for these hotel brands. Because again, the hotel brands used to own and used to manage the properties and have the brand. Well, now they're just the brand. Right. So all they are are really branding and distribution companies and yes, they have standard, not to denigrate what they do. They do great stuff, but they are largely branding and distribution companies now, which puts even more focus on what are you doing that really makes sense and resonates with these guests to make them love you.
I agree. So we see that in the brands. They moved from asset heavy to asset light completely.
Right.
But I think part of it is also the pressure of showing results and digital marketing strategies. And they have mixed that with loyalty or membership, the necessity to show success on digital marketing spend that drives them into, okay, let me beat parity. Let me reward this behavior of find a good rate with a good discount and a value at, you just happen to find it on my site. And that is, I think, also part of where this mixture of the both happen. And then loyalty was not as much about creating that brand identity with the guest, but making digital marketing spend more successful by using a close rate.
Right. Well, and what happens with that is if you're a traveler and if you're brand agnostic, you really don't know. And let's use an example. You're going to New York City and you don't really care. You may be a member of all these brands, as Glenn said, or all these programs, but you don't really care where you stay. You want a great experience at the best price. You don't want to spend more than other people are. You don't want to be an idiot, right? Because if you're spending more than you have to, you're an idiot. So, and that's not good. Even if you're spending $700 a night for something, and someone next door is spending $698, you're stupid all of a sudden. And but
that $700 package comes with a free bottled water, so you're making out.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, we can get into resort fees.
I know.
We don't.
Let's not.
Is this podcast 7 or 8 hours long? Yeah, but when you're going through, if you're brand agnostic and you're supposed to get the best rate in an individual site, does that mean that traveler has to go to Hyatt and to Marriott and to Hilton and to Citizen M and to Wyndham and whatever, to all of these different sites to try to get these rates? Or can they go someplace in general and try to get figure it out in one spot and go? And thus the purpose that the OTAs, live for. Because again, the online travel agencies, they don't necessarily care if a particular hotel is sold or not. They just want to convert that booking, right?
Right.
How do you get a happy customer, get that thing done? And they're focusing on one thing, and they're pretty good at it.
I think you're touching on a very important issue, that if I'm a hotel owner, if I'm a franchisee of a specific brand, I have one hotel, so I only have that one brand that I'm allegiant to, right? So I have the parent company that has 15, 20, even in some cases 30 different brands. Their goal is very different than my goal, right? I want them to promote my brand. They need to promote 15, 20, 30 brands, and they don't care in the end of the day which hotel people stay at, right? So I'm sensing there is a divergence here between the priorities with certain hotel owners and the major franchising companies.
And being that major, franchisor is a difficult task because all of these owners want you to be fair, right? Well, include me in the sort order. It's like, well, gee, you are 30 miles outside of Atlanta. I think they want to be down. You should not be there. But look at my price. It's lower. Well, yeah, those are difficult conditions. Or when they're running digital marketing campaigns, it's like, well, we've got to bid on everybody, and everybody gets this, and everybody's bidding the same amount, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
All of that doesn't work very well when, especially you're up against organizations that are very, very sophisticated in terms of their bidding practices and looking for, anomalies of value where you're seeing, my gosh, that's a great thing. Let's promote this. That's fantastic. Let's move some product off the shelves, as opposed to, well, everybody's going to get the same thing and get kind of the same pitch. The one size fits all is not a great scenario. But again, a lot of the major brands have to kind of do that, or their owners feel left out, and they've got to do it. And it's a lot harder to do customized programs for every single one. I mean, look at a lot of the major brands don't let hotels have their own websites, right? Their own, and they call them vanity websites. Right. It's like, well, yes, I understand you want to have the credit go to the main brand, but boy, even from an SEO perspective, you could be doing some really very interesting things, networking all those thousands of hotels, together from an SEO perspective, and really make something dominate it, instead of just, here's this one URL that has a whole bunch of very similarly templated,
right,
maybe not very unique stuff, which is, again, a tremendous disservice to hotels. So yeah, everybody's got to raise their game. Is the bottom line. And how do they do that? They've got to look at what these travelers are looking for, and address those needs. I
agree, and also what the hoteliers have to say about those travelers. It is true that from a destination perspective, using the Atlanta example, it might be unfair to request to be listed first, but what is the traveler out there that the preferences said, I am okay with being further away if I get this amenity or if I get this rate? So again, having the technology will allows us today to look at this data that the users are literally shedding as they're going through the sites, and now storage is cheap. So really building up the ability to create the offer that is engaging to the guest and fair to the hotel that is being represented in that portal, as long as you're controlling the portal from a brand perspective, as long as you're controlling the experience from a hotel perspective. OTAs, well, they get to say what they show in their site. Right.
Yeah. And I think, you look at it, when I left Four Seasons, I ran marketing for an economy lodging chain in Canada, which a lot of people don't remember, called Journey's End. I think, actually the properties are still out there. Most of them are choice properties. But at that time they were new, and we would have people, let's say around the Toronto area, they would be looking for a suburban property or, surrounding a major city. And they would start on the east side of town, perhaps, and work their way around to the west side. So this property may be 30 miles from the first one they were originally interested in, but they want to stay there because, hey, maybe they were traveling with a family or something. They were within striking distance of the city, and was it near a major, transit line or something like that, which made a great stay for them, saved them a lot of money, and was a great, absolutely great scenario, especially if they had to park or pay for parking. So it all comes down to, well, how are you traveling? Why are you staying? What are you trying to accomplish? And I think that's a huge area where a lot of the hotels fall short, right? They don't necessarily figure that out. And even in a post, when you're looking about the guest experience itself, even in a confirmation email, one group, library hotels, Adele Gutman, who heads marketing for them, a friend of mine, she does a fantastic job, and their jobs is displayed with TripAdvisor, right? They organically in New York have, I think, all 5 of their properties in the top 10 on TripAdvisor, and that's not using black hat, methods to use review spam to climb to the top, because those don't really work. But what do they do on their email? confirmation email goes, why are you staying? Is it a honeymoon or whatever? Here are the various things. And people will check honeymoons and anniversaries and things like that, even though it's not. Right. And so people come and they go, well, that's ridiculous. You're giving them like a bottle of wine or something like that. So you go, so what? What's the big difference? We understand how much it costs.
Right.
If they're staying there, let them have fun. Let them have a great time. We've figured this out. They aren't, maybe they think they're getting away with something. Fine. We know what's happening. Let them have a great time. And then all of a sudden they can start recommending romantic restaurants, great places to do whatever. And somebody comes in and says, oh, I want to go take selfies. And it's like, oh, you've got to go down to the, to the Color Factory in Soho or Chelsea or wherever it is. And it's a super Instagrammable thing. There's one in San Francisco. You'll have a blast. I don't know. Who cares? It all comes down to traveler personas, which are the absolute key. What are these travelers looking at, and why does your hotel exist? Hopefully it has a reason, because if there's no reason for your hotel to exist, I don't care how good a marketer or technologist you are, that is a tough job. So why was it built? What markets is it serving? How do you do that job really, really well? And all of a sudden you'll start, even if you don't have a massive tech budget, even if you don't have the ability to run massive marketing campaigns, even though you're one of the properties at the north end of DFW Airport on a great big row of every brand, right? You can do great things that again will make people loyal to your product. And again, understanding that, hey, you know what? It's a lot like with these with these travelers. Are you getting married, or is this a one-night stand? To put it very, very crassly. In many cases, you may be wanting to get married and the other party just wants a one-night stand, right? And those are not good for trying to get a long-term relationship in human relationship. And that's not good for hotels either. So you've got to kind of understand, hey, what's going on here? How does this really work?
Excellent. All right. So I think in order to drive it home, let me see if I could summarize the 8,000 different points that we've been talking about here today. So there is a conflict between direct booking and OTA booking. And right in the middle of that is the consumer, that customer who the brands are hoping are going to express a sense of loyalty to certain brands. But in actuality, what they're doing is they're just looking for rewards a lot of the times, whether it's a couple of dollars off or a free bottle of water or whatever it might be. Maybe it's that free bottle of wine that you're talking about, Robert. But in the future, in order to really be able to find profitability and push rates and achieve premium pricing, you need to make that emotional connection with the guests in a way that's meaningful to the way that they want to live their lives in the places that they want to stay. Did I get that right, Robert?
I think so, yeah. And actually on the personalization, and I think the secret is really personalization, and there are 3 flavors of it. I mentioned customization, where you're taking these, they've told you something that's 2 adults and 2 children, maybe show them some images of families or something that works, that is proven to convert families.
That says,
right?
This family is staying there, it'll be good for my family.
Right. And that's how the OTAs work. They look back at several years, they look at the personas, they go, here are the families that stayed. Right. They aren't looking at demographics even at that point. And they start working up the funnel. What are the signals which really worked? And then all of a sudden that can drive all your A/B and multivariate testing on what's working and what's not working. You can start testing various factors of what works best. The second aspect is really what I call individualization. And that's really that example where you're looking at, here's what for typical travelers, hey, there's a snowstorm in Boston. People get fed up. They want to go to a resort destination. Maybe if I'm an all-inclusive resort in Jamaica, I can start figuring out, here's what people from Boston after major snowstorms are really looking for. And it may be very different for a family all-inclusive versus an adults-only all-inclusive, right? Maybe totally different signal. So that individualization of the process. And then the last one is really true personalization, which is that personally identifiable information, which is you're a member of the rewards program. Maybe you've opted in to share really valuable information of what you're interested in, what you like, and those sorts of things, well, boy, then you can do some really fantastic things with them. And again, so it kind of depends on how much do you know about them, and on that individualization. That's how Airbnb, boy, talk about a challenge. Every property is different by design, right? How do you figure that out? Well, they know if there's no cookie, you've never been to the site before, they go, oh, you're in Chicago. Here's what people in Chicago have generally looked for and been interested in at this time of day, at this period of year, at whatever it may be, even to the point of, when arrival and departure patterns may be as defaults and things like that.
Right.
They figure out, here are the destination, the little travel guides. TripAdvisor does this as well. What are the little travel guides that should be populated? Because they've got a hunch, if you're like most other people, you're going to like this stuff. Really, really good. Because again, you start looking at next generation retailing. How do you eliminate the friction in these processes is the most important thing. How do you make it where they read my mind? That's perfect. That's what you want to shoot for is how do you have the best experience for these travelers based on knowledge that you have? Mm-hmm. And there should be a hell of a lot of knowledge that these hoteliers have of what makes great stays and enjoyable booking experiences. And so capture that, use it.
Yes.
And thrill your guests. Your bottom line will thank you for it.
Beautiful. So I think the only last thing to do is why don't you give us a great little plug about how we could find you? And I think we're going to have to get you back on the show at some point later on in the year because we have so many more things I think we could discuss with you, but we do not want to be a 7-8 hour podcast today. So, Robert, how can we find you and RockCheetah?
Well, I do a live video thing with actually a Stuart Butler, a former guest on this, but with Ed St. Ange, Lauren Gray, Tim Peter, Valen Perni. There's kind of a cast of us. 2 hours generally. We're trying to get down to 90 minutes, but it started as kind of a cathartic self-help session, right? Kind of a group session, and we videoed it, and we're on show 180 something or other. So that's a lot of stuff. But so I'm certainly doing that. It's a hospitality digital marketing live show, and it's live. It is not edited. It's just you get what people say. But the best way to find me is at RockCheetah.com. My website, or I'm on all social channels at Robert K. Cole. And so I'm around. I'm at a lot of the major conferences. Mm-hmm. Always happy to say hi and answer. Have people ask me questions. I like to hear questions. I'll try to answer them maybe, but I like the questions.
Beautiful. Estella, how about you?
Well, certainly through Hotel Tech Podcast /SHR.global. No, wait, I said that wrong.
You can certainly go to SHR.global for sure.
And then Hotel Tech Podcast. And my direct email, ehale@shr.global.
Beautiful. And I want to thank everybody for listening today. This has been a very interesting and in-depth discussion. No matter what you got out of this, I see a lot of positivity. Do not get nervous about some of the things that we talked about today. You have the power within you to make more money. It's all about connecting with the guests, customizing their experience, personalizing what they want, and making them feel like they have good value in order to create that true loyalty, not just attract those reward seekers. If you want to find this show recording and all past shows, of course, check out SHR's website, shr.global, as Estella just said, /Hotel Tech Podcast. We're also on No Vacancy News and on the No Vacancy podcast feed, which is, of course, available anywhere you prefer to get your podcast. And if you want to subscribe to our Sunday night newsletter through No Vacancy, just text the word hotel to 66866. It's easy as that. Just text the word hotel to 66866. What a great show this has been. I want to thank each and every one of you for being with us today. So for Robert and Estella, myself, Glenn, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Hotel Tech Podcast.